Hello, my viewers. This is once again Ethics Institute of East Africa. My name is Joseph Okhako. I'm the Group CEO of Ethics Institute of East Africa, and we continue with our series on the methods of preventing corruption in government. We have dealt with the other methods, other strategies that we were previously discussing about. For example, we talked about value-based approach, and we said there are four major methods of preventing corruption in an organization. Maybe in government, it may be in a private sector organization. We talked of value-based approach, where we are instilling values in the system to ensure there is no corruption within the organization or within government. The number two is compliance-based approach. The number three is risk management approach. Then we have awareness and participation. If you can recall very well, we have already discussed value-based approach, and I gave an example of ways of how you can be able to instill values in a society, and I gave an example of how the president can be able to do this. Where I indicated that he can be able to appoint an advisor in his office on matters corruption eradication. And I talked about establishing a cabinet committee on corruption eradication that can be able to brief him from time to time, decisions to be made related to corruption eradication. Those are some of the value-based approaches. We talked about training, talked about culture change, and so on and so forth. Before I proceed, I want to make a passionate plea to our viewers to kindly like and subscribe to our channels. We are on TikTok as Ethics of Life. We are on YouTube as Joseph Okhako at Ethics East Africa. We are on Instagram. We are also on Facebook. We are on LinkedIn. All the social media platforms. We are actually connected. Only for one reason: reduce corruption. Talk about corruption and reduce corruption within our boundaries of the East African region. And today I want to narrow down. I want to start discussing compliance-based approach. When we talk about compliance-based approach, we are talking about ensuring that people comply to certain rules and regulations. People comply to certain laws. People comply to certain guidelines. We are talking about ensuring that the cost of being involved in corruption is so high that people should desist from getting involved in corruption. That is compliance-based approach. We are talking about people getting to know that you can be rewarded by not getting involved in corruption, that you can be punished heavily by getting involved in corruption. I want to give a very good example of my colleagues at the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I just love these people and what they are doing in fighting corruption against the tide. Why I'm saying about the tide is, with all the pitfalls, with all the barriers on their way, they are trying to do their best, because they have been put in offices to do what they are doing. What they are always doing, especially when some Kenyans have amassed too much beyond their income, and asking for them to make a declaration on how they got those assets, and confiscating those assets through the court process, is a compliance-based approach. Unfortunately for Kenyans, when some of our leaders are invited to EACC to write statements about their possible involvement in corruption, the electorates go and camp outside the EACC offices. And there has been a very funny statements coming from the members of the public, that this is our own. Even if he's corrupt, leave him to us or leave her to us. So the question that comes to my mind is, Why then do you complain a lot when EACC's hands are tied and they cannot do much better the way you expect? If you elect the same leaders, they amass wealth beyond their income, they use the resources they are given by the national government to develop their counties, and they use that money to enrich themselves. And you, when they are arrested by EACC, you go to the EACC offices to complain again. And when EACC doesn't do much because their hands are tied, you again complain EACC is not doing much. What is the problem in our nation today? Is it lack of knowledge? I say no, it's not lack of knowledge. We actually know what we are doing. The problem of corruption in Kenya has nothing to do with our leaders. It has nothing to do with the institutions we have put in place, the DCI, EACC or CAJ. It has everything to do with us Kenyans ourselves, who have decided to sleep with corruption, eat with corruption, dine with corruption, and enjoy corruption, and elect corrupt leaders, and protect them even with our own blood. The day we stop this culture, that is the day when Kenya will develop economically and become the powerhouse, the economic powerhouse of the East African region. I will come back after this break.